excited.
Oh yeah, let's go.
Love the smell of kerosene in the morning.
Welcome to Melbourne.
All right, it is Tim here, and I am here with Evan.
G'day.
Tell us a little bit about what you do here, Evan.
So we're here at Stupid Old Studios, which is a company of mine and a few other people. We're a video production company here in Melbourne. We have a studio space here where we do a lot of shooting, a lot of video stuff, bit of live streaming, that sort of thing. We also have a podcast studio upstairs, which is all rigged up for multi-camera video as well. And we have a focus on comedy, big focus on comedy, hence the name.
That's why he's such a funny guy.
That's why he's such a funny guy. So we do a lot of like live stuff outside of the studio as well. So we do a lot of multicam stuff, like on location, big venues and that sort of thing too. So, and a bit of corporate video and whatever else.
All right, awesome. And we are going to take a look at your control room now just to see how you use vMix amongst all of that. Let's go. And here we are, we're back. We are at the control room of the Stupid Old Studios studio.
Yep.
So Evan's going to tell us a little bit about what's happening behind us here.
We have a whole bunch happening behind us here, a whole bunch of computers and stuff like that, a lot of screens. The heart of it all is vMix. Of course, we're running vMix to get all our camera feeds in through SDI, running a deck link card to get all our cameras in into vMix. Do all our switching here. We have what is this?
X-Keys.
It's an X-Keys controller to actually do all the switching and macros and other sort of shortcuts that we do for a show. So that all controls vMix, and then broadly vMix goes SDI into a computer over here that's running OBS. And OBS is how we do streaming. If we're doing live stream events, we're streaming out to Twitch or YouTube or whatever, we tend to do that through OBS just for a bit of like redundancy, just so we kind of have distributing the load across systems. We also have an Intel NUC here, which is doing some of the lighter duties. So things like we run central control on there to do a few little bits and pieces. It runs our auto cue. We also use OSC Pilot, which is a program just to do a bit of OSC remote control to the studio for lighting through ArtNet or controlling Resolume to do stuff with the LED walls, that sort of thing. So this is our studio computer. It runs a few different things. It runs Resolume is the main thing. So that's what we're using to spit out to the LED walls through a few LED processors down here. It basically just sees the LED walls as extra screens, so we can use our Resolume output to manipulate that for whatever project we want, and then we can load in images and videos and switch between whatever we're doing and have different layers to bring in graphics over the top or anything like that. And we also will use that, like we were showing before, we can bring in NDI feeds. We have NDI both in and out of Resolume. So in this case, this footage is playing out over NDI through to vMix. So if the operator wants to cut to that full screen, then they can cut to that footage. And then if we've got things like remote guests, if we've got people coming in through vMix Call or through Zoom NDI, those sort of things, we can add NDI sources from vMix or anywhere else, bring them into Resolume, and then we can cut to it. For example, there's one of our podcast studio cameras. We can easily bring that up and put that up on the LED wall if we want, and move it around and do whatever in Resolume. So it's really, really flexible software, and it plays really nicely with vMix for this sort of thing. We also have audio over here. We have an Allen & Heath QU24, which is our audio desk. We have a digital snake in the studio, so it all just comes in over one Cat6 cable, and then we're able to bring all our mics into that and any other audio sources, and it does auto mixing, which is quite handy. A show like this, a panel show, would have 4 mics live, and so you can use the auto mix feature to bring some of that noise floor down. It means that we can kind of just set and forget mics to a degree. We're also doing a little bit of Dante, and a bit of NDI. So we have a Netgear AV switch to do a bit of extra stuff for sending audio and video around where we need.
Cool. And you also have a podcast studio upstairs.
That's true.
And you can control that from here as well?
Yeah, that's right. So upstairs we have 3 Canon CRN 500 PTZ cameras, which spit out NDI HX. We run that all down through our Netgear switch, so all our NDI stuff is isolated on that switch just to try to keep it stable. And then that can come into this vMix computer. We use the multicorder then to record those feeds as ISOs, but then we also use a neat little program called Virtual Video Director from, I think, Noise Productions, and that does auto switching based on who's talking. So we bring the mic feeds down here, it detects who's on on which mic, we allocate the mics to which camera is pointing at who, and then it can automatically switch. And then we use central control web interface, so whoever's in the podcast video, you can just press a button on the web interface to trigger the multicorder on vMix, and it also at the same time triggers the recording on an ATEM Mini ISO, which is up there as well, taking a HDMI feed for backup. So it's a neat little setup for that.
What sort of cameras do you use in the actual production studio?
At the moment, we're using a mix of Blackmagic cameras. So a couple of Pocket 4Ks, a couple of Pocket 6Ks, and an Ursa Broadcast G2 is what we're using at the moment.
So you're converting the HDMI to SDI and then bringing those runs in?
Yeah. I'd love to transition slowly to 4K. It'd be great to get the studio models for that. But at the moment, we're just doing 1080, 50, 1080, 25, depending on the production, and bring it in, convert it to SDI and then bring it in here, yeah.
Right, okay. And so for the studio itself, you're mainly doing like comedy panel shows and that type of thing?
Yeah, it's a real mix of what we do. If we're using vMix, then it's it's sort of multi-camera shows, right? So we do some stuff in the studio which is just straightforward corporate video, 1 or 2 cameras, doing an interview, that sort of thing. We wouldn't really use vMix for something like that. But when we're getting the control room involved, it's sometimes it's live production. So this show streams out to Twitch, and so it's sort of like all systems go. It's auto cue, it's OSC commands, it's Resolume doing playback, it's NDI, it's multi-views and preview monitors, all this sort of thing happening. It sort of makes use of everything in the studio, which is a nice little test for things.
Sounds like fun.
It is fun.
Yeah.
Stressful, but fun.
Yeah, I can imagine that would be the case. It's not really something I think I'd be able to handle, but I'm glad there's people out there that are capable of doing this kind of thing. Before we go, Sorry, go again. And before we go, we're going to have a quick demo of how this all works.
Yeah, okay, so with this stream that we did for National Science Week was a great little project called Shirty Science, where they pair up scientists with designers to design t-shirts based around the scientists' PhD thesis studies, to sort of start conversations about the work and the area of science. So, and that's sent out as a live stream. It's an hour-ish long show that goes out to YouTube. And so the way we handled all this, we had a host in person, a few judges in person, but we had a remote judge who was on the whole time, sort of watching the show and being part of it. And so on the right hand side we had them coming in over Zoom, and then they came in through Zoom rooms through NDI into vMix, and then we spat out one of our NDI outputs from vMix, went to Resolume to have them up on the LED wall, and then we had the challenge of then 10 remote guests. The pair, 5 t-shirts for the pairs of the scientists and the designers, and they needed to come up in pairs to present their designs. So we created this sort of 2-up box in vMix, and we bring in those NDI feeds from Zoom again into vMix, crop them and frame them up here, and then add in the layer of the t-shirt and the sponsor and stuff, and then we send that out over to Resolume, and then we're able to sort of change with... Jam, are you around? If Jam's got a thing on his phone sending OSC commands, so we can change that if we're sending out these people come up, then we can change on the LED walls to show that 2-up box. So that's coming in through coming into Resolume from vMix through NDI. And then when we were changing over, we would bring that down, change that to a different holding frame on the LED wall, and then in Zoom rooms, we get on the iPad, change around the inputs to the other pair that's coming up, and then we had mapped to a shortcut, a different shirt, and then we can put them up on the LED wall. So it was just doing factoring a little bit of time into the live stream between them to sort of get our ducks in a row, and then spit out the new 2-up view with the new people. And then also managing muting and stuff on the Zoom side to make sure the audio ran well.
Right.
It was a really handy little setup, as well as all the usual vMix stuff, like little logos for people to vote on the designs, or little lower thirds and partner graphics and that sort of thing as well. So it was so good for that show. It worked really well.
All right, awesome. Well, thanks for your time. Do you have any socials or anything you want to point people in that direction?
Yeah, so we're called Stupid Old Studios. You can find us on Twitter and Instagram and TikTok and X. And actually, our YouTube is called Stupid Old Channel. And if you want to see some of our productions, that's where some of our more fun stuff goes on there. So you can go check that out.
All right, cool. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
So I think instead of the weird, awkward ending, we can insert like a demo of you doing something, and then have the weird awkward ending after that.